Hello, how are you doing? Hey, welcome back to tapaScript Lab, and we are starting with the first episode of season 2. Today, in our episode, I have a guest who has spent a lot of time on open source, not only contributing but also maintaining it. She is a public speaker and carries a lot of knowledge about React, Canvas, and how the open source world works. Let me welcome Aakansha Doshi, who is also a very, very dear friend of mine. I know her as part of the developer community, as part of the open source community for years now. And I'm sure that it will be fantastic catching up with Akanksha in this podcast. I hope you enjoy as well. And if you do so, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to comment on it. If you have any questions that comes to your mind while listening to myself and Akanksha, please post them into the comment section. I will definitely try to get back to you with the answer. With that, let us get started welcoming our guest of the day. Hey, Akanksha, nice to see you. How are you?
Hey Tapas, I'm good. How are you? And I'm excited that the finally we are making this happen after I think a uh, long iterations we were doing back and forth, and finally today it's happening. So yeah, excited to be here and part of this podcast.
I'm equally excited. And, for your information, this is the second season of this podcast. I have done the first season last year. And
Okay.
it was taken well. The episodes that I had recorded and then shared with six guests last time. This time also plan is the same to release six episodes. And I cannot be happier that you are the first guest of this
Oh,
season.
awesome. Yes.
New
Starting
year,
of
new year,
2025.
new guest, and someone that I know for a while, mostly my due to my engagement in the open source world, the talks that I have given on the open source side of it, and kind of following the journey of Akanksha from far. But today, I think we have an opportunity to know like what it looks like from close. And Akanksha, before we move ahead with a lot of discussion, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Hi, Tapas. So glad to be here. So, I'm Akansha. I'm an open source maintainer, and I have been contributing to the world of open source for 3 to 4 years now. So, last 3 to 4 years, and the most exciting part I would I have seen is that since I have been working remotely since 3 to 4 years and have been contributing to open source, all the people I know are from the community. All the people I have been working with are from the community, and Tapas is also one of them whom
Yeah.
I have met in the community. So if I count on my friends from, like who are one of my close friends since last 3 to 4 years, each and every one of them is I would have met them in some conference, some podcast, or some meetups. So I think that's something which connects us all. So yeah, that's about me and some of the projects which I've contributed to so far. Scalidra is one of the projects, one of the bigger
Mm.
projects, and then there are some smaller libraries which I maintain. And yeah, I love speaking. I love talking about things I do. I love sharing my experiences, the case studies which I have been doing, and yeah, I'm happy to be part of this podcast. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So definitely, I'm going to talk and get a lot of information about the open source, and the kind of libraries that you are maintaining. How people kind of get into it and pros, cons, everything. But I will go back to the phase like when you started your journey, probably as a programmer, as a developer. If you can talk a little bit about that, is like what what made you like become a programmer, or it was a conscious choice, or it was by accident? For me, it was by accident. So I'm saying, how was it for you?
Okay, so going like a couple of years back, I did not start my journey as a developer,
Mm.
um, but I started it as a problem curator. So even actually going beyond that, I would like to share a little about how actually I got into engineering. My plan was never to get into engineering, though I loved computers, I loved chemistry, I loved maths. These three were my, top things which used to make me curious. And I used to love these three things, and I had to choose one of it. So I had taken admission for BCA in, like, I'm from Kolkata, so I had taken admission for BCA But my friends really pushed me hard that, just give this joint entrance exam. Like, just give it. Like, you don't have to worry about what your rank is, and you don't have to even like just give it for just getting an experience. And that time, I think some elections were happening, and I guess it was 2011. So some elections were happening at that time, and the joint entrance date was shifted by 1 month. So my friends pushed me, and I just prepared whatever I could prepare in that 1 month buffer, because I did not really prepare for any entrance exam. So I gave it, and obviously the rank was not good. I got into a tier 3 college, tier 4 college, and then I got into engineering. So I got into information technology field, and I started. I had learned like computer. I had learned programming language in my school. Java was the language which we were taught in school. So I knew how to code, but uh, getting into programming or actual problem solving is something which started in fourth year of my college, and I never wanted to go into the MNCs. That was my personal choice. That okay, I don't want to join like the MNCs companies. I want to join a startup. That is something which I had. That was my personal choice. So I started this competitive coding challenges in HackerRank, HackerEarth, uh, Code Chef, and all those websites. And I used to participate in the hackathons, the code sprints, which used to happen. And I sort of got addicted to it in the fourth year of my college. And then there was some code sprint happening in HackerRank named Epicode Code Sprint, which I still remember. And there, I think I had a rank. It was a worldwide code sprint, and uh, they probably sent an email to top some ex candidates, and I got an email from there that if you want to, I think the email was like. Life is short, work somewhere awesome, something like that. Life is short, work somewhere awesome. So I tried that. I went ahead and gave that interview, and it was about. I was still learning DS algo, data structural algorithms. I was learning about what is BFS, what is DFS, how do you apply it. Unfortunately, the question was about that. I just learned about it like. So the thing is that all of us would have learned about this algorithm since colleges,
Right.
but we don't know how to apply it. Like, we don't know how to implement it or how to, code it practically, and where should we be applying it. We know like, okay, what is BFS, what is DFS, like theoretically. So that's what I was trying to gain experience on, that, I want to learn how to actually implement those things, and when should we be implementing it. So just the night before, I was learning about it, and the next day, the question fortunately was based on that, and I got into that, and I cracked the first round, and then the next round was with the co-founder, and then that round went fine. So I was not ready for a developer role at that time, because I didn't really have any projects on web development or any that kind of experience. I didn't have. I was just getting started with coding or DS algo. So what I got the offer was that joining as a problem curator, where my job would be to create challenges based on data structural algorithms which are used for hiring. So that's what I started with, and I started loving it, because again, that makes your DS algo a lot more stronger. I would say DS, like algo is still it's not needed as such, but data structure is definitely something which makes you a good, which makes your basics very clear. Algorithm is like depends on what kind of work you are doing. So, but data structure is always needed throughout your life. So yeah. So, and then after 2 years, I got interested into development, and that's how I shifted my role into front end development. But yeah, front end development was not by choice. That was an accidental thing.
Okay.
So the thing is, I was actually learning about backend. I was learning about Ruby on Rails. That's what the backend is built in HackerRank. So I was learning about that. I was taking these weekend homeworks to pick up small tasks from GitHub, and I used to fix those so that I can learn more about it. And then when I moved into the team, after whatever the interview process, I moved into the development team, and then we were actually the React was pretty new that time, and we had the code base in Backbone, so we wanted to move to React, and it was a very big code base. Like the entire product was supposed to be moved to React, and we didn't have enough developers to work on it. So they moved me into that team, and I was learning React, and that's where I actually got into front end. And since then, I have been continuing as a front end developer. So that's how I actually got into front end.
Yeah, great. I think I found a couple of similarities as you were saying. Like, of course, I'm also from Kolkata, is one of the similarity that we both know. But apart from the fact that for me also, it happens to be the friends who pushed me towards engineering. Some of the other ways, it was not like a very conscious choice from my side that I have to go to engineering. One interesting fact that you mentioned that, like, when probably you were in engineering last year, you wanted to join a company, but not an MNC, but a startup. How being in the engineering you make that mind? I just want to kind of know, because for many folks, at least I meet, I mentor, they don't have this clarity of thought, like, okay, this is where I have to go versus this is where I don't have to go. What made you think?
So uh, got to know about these from a couple of folks that in MNCs, you don't really get to learn or deep dive into things. It's like the amount of learning which you would, let's say, get in 2 years or 4 years. That learning, there is a limitation in that learning because MNCs are big companies, and
Hmm.
sort of it's very hard to get your uh, hands on to everything, right? And initially, when you are starting your career, you don't know what you want to drive with. So you want to have like full ownership. You want to have those pressure moments where you have deadlines to push things, and you might have wasted so many nights as well to push things out. This would be happening in MNCs as well. But what made me join a startup is in startups there are less people, but they have more, more things to take care of. So basically, you have in a short period of time, you have to learn a lot of things so that you can actually, keep it going. Whereas in MNCs, probably you might not. Let's say if you are into front end, you might not get to work on back end, or if you are working on, a particular team and you want to dive into some, like you want to learn about SQL or things like, or you want to maybe need some help in front end, you might not be able to do it unless and until the team actually does it.
Hmm.
So that's one of the things which I wanted to avoid. And since it was like a very early stage and just the start of my career, and that's where I had this thing that I got a job into TCS, but I didn't want to join TCS. I wanted to join a startup. That was something which I was very clear about since the beginning.
Good, good. This is really nice. The clarity of thought, and this is the reason that I want to go. I think that clarity is pretty important. Uh, One other thing about like DSA you mentioned, like especially the DS part of it, the data structure part of it, that one got to be really strong if you want to be good as a programmer, having a very strong base and the foundation stuff of it. I think this also come as a questions from many, like how much DSA is really enough for me to kind of go for, or enough. I somehow feel it's completely my perception, could be wrong, that these questions usually come because most of the folks are not understanding the DS that depth, or probably they're very discouraged, very much discouraged that how the DSA should be learned. So the question of like how much DSA is really enough for me to kind of get a job or get the foundational things correct. Do you have any opinion like how much DSA is really good enough for?
I think the problem here is that, people who are, I don't know about tier one, tier two colleges, but like the colleges where tier three, tier four, they really don't focus probably on, these skills like practical
Yeah,
implementation
yeah,
of
yeah.
those. Because like in my college also, we are mostly focused on, getting a good CGPA and focusing on the theoretical part. There is very less focus on actual implementation, because that's where what you are going to, when you work in a company or work, let's say you build a company, also you build something, you need to have that practical hands on,
Yeah.
which is not happening, right? And that's where people are worried about DS algo, because they are not getting the hands on, the that experience. in their college or wherever they are, learning about it. And I would say algorithm is not really, I don't think that is important, because that depends on, let's say if I'm working on something core. For example, if I'm working on, let's say if I pick up a feature of, text containers in Canvas, where you are typing something, you are drawing a square and you are typing something into it, and you have to wrap it in that
Mm.
box. So in that case, word wrap algorithm would come into the picture. But let's say if you're building a website where you have a login flow, you have some forms, then you don't need any specific algorithm. So it so little. But if you are building a framework like React, then there are a lot of things you will need to know at the core. So it depends on what kind of task you are doing. So algorithm is like uh, depends on completely depends on what kind of tasks you are doing. But DS is something which gets applicable to everything. Like when you want to optimize stuff, you will use something like hash map. When you want to build a good, a structure, like the base of uh, anything at the core is how you have structured, the things to store the data. That
Absolutely.
so and there are a lot of things which you can play around with it. So depending on that, I think DS is important. At least the uh, basics of DSA, like DS, not DSA, DS data structures, that when you should be using an array, when you should be using a hash map, when set, like at least these things. Then comes the complexity ones as well, the trees, the B trees and those things. So those things depend on, again, what kind of, like, are you building like something thread like a structure, Twitter thread like a
Yeah,
structure,
yeah.
then
Your
those things will
implementation
come.
use case. Yes.
Exactly. But otherwise, the basics, the hash map, the array, the set, all these things would cover majority of the use case. So
True.
depends on that, yeah.
In any particular resource or the resources that comes in your mind that folks can look into, I mean, whoever listening or watching this?
I have, and like when I started with it, I used to basically go through these Hacker Earth, then CodeChef. All these are basically coding challenges, and they have, especially if you would see in HackerRank, you have like topic wise you will solve the questions, which
Right.
actually, if you are really getting started with it, it gives you a motivation that, okay, I got this badge. I have this much score, which keeps you busy on, okay, I want to do more, I want to
Mm.
get into the next level. And then
They
you
fully
have these
gamified it.
competitions. Yeah. So that actually helps. And then you have the tutorials to read about the same. And that way it's kind of an engagement where
Mm.
it's you can participate, you can collaborate. It's not like you are the only one doing it and no one is also giving you the reward. You are getting the rewards as well. So I think these, like, that's what has helped me and kept me busy, and that's how I actually got addicted. I think Lead Code is also there, which is actually interview based
Mm.
completely. It's not like it's solely based on the interview. Like if you are really looking for cracking some interview, then probably Lead Code might be the best one. So it depends solely on your interest. If you are just doing for a hobby, then probably you might want to go for, you might want to participate on those competitions which are happening as well. But if you are just focusing on interview, then maybe you might start with Lead Code as well, because they, I think, have the most particular focused structure, and they also have the interview questions as well. So I haven't used Lead Code much. I just have like grazed through it, like just overall. But I have seen that they have those categories of interviews as well. So yeah, it depends on how you want to go about it. But yeah, I would say that, like, go into these websites and do the practical implementation of it, so that you get to learn and you get to know how things actually work. And then you can build something out of it. Like, let's say build a to-do list where you have
Mm.
to use, you have to store the data and those kind of things. So I think that would be like a step-by-step learning.
Got it. Got it. Thanks for sharing. So coming back to the journey again, like what happened after that? I mean, is that the first job where you kind of started showing interest towards open source, or was it in college, or when it was introduced to you?
In college, I didn't know there's something
Okay.
called open source. I didn't even know about GitHub, so forget open source. So, um, yeah, it started in my first company, Hackathon. The thing is that I was moving into development soon. In like about close to 2 years, I was moving into development team, and that time I we were using these. There is a library called React Tag Input. React tags basically. So we were using this library. It's basically a tagging library, a small React component. And there were a couple of issues in that which we wanted to fix. So I just went to the GitHub repo and saw that okay, the code is actually open source.
Hmm.
So and it's not like a lot of code. It's just a small React component. I was very new to React though, but still it was a component, and it was easy for me to get started. And I just went ahead and fixed it and raised a PR, and it got merged. And the happiness which I felt at that time was epic. So that was my first pull request, and then I just reached out to the maintainer of React tags, Prakhar, that hey, I'm interested in maintaining it. So if you are looking for a maintainer, let me know. I would love to maintain it because we are using it at work. So I will anyways want to improve the library over time, so I can take care of it. And that happened. He actually was interested, and I got the maintainer. I ended up being a maintainer of that library, and that's how actually that was my first, I would say, contribution to open source. And then I sort of started liking it, and I started contributing to a couple of more libraries here and there. And but all of those libraries, I would say, were related to my work because
Hmm.
that's one thing which I tell everyone out there that I mean, open source, contributing to open source, there should be a reason why you want to contribute. Like try improving or try solving something so that you can, keep contributing. It shouldn't be like, hey, I want to contribute to open source. Which library should I contribute to? I often get this question that which library should I contribute to? But my answer is you don't have to look for a library, never. Just look at what you actually use and just go and improve it. And that way, you will also have the motivation to continue improving it instead of, finding a library, fixing it today, and then forgetting it
Yeah.
because I'm not using it. So it ends up like a temporary thing. So that's one thing which I always say to everyone that if you want to contribute to open source, sure, why not? Like community needs it, but look for what you can actually improve out there. Look for the libraries you are using because these smaller libraries, I would say, are the best way to get started because the code base is small. You will not get lost in the code base, and it will also motivate you to, contribute further, and then you can go and contribute to the larger code bases depending on your bandwidth.
So here one question is, as per you, is there a kind of set template on how to approach a maintainer if I want to get close to an open source, more close to an open source? Like you mentioned that you got in touch with the maintainer of that particular library because you wanted to maintain it. So is there a specific template or how someone should approach it? They might not know this particular part.
Yeah, I mean, I have also made mistakes in
Okay.
approaching because it's like this, right? Generally, what happens is uh, whoever are the open source maintainers, they are doing it on their free time,
Hmm.
and people have this wrong expectations that if this thing is there for a long time, why are you not fixing it? But hey, we are doing this on our free time. It's
Right.
not like you are getting paid for it. So hold on, you know, as I get the time, I'll fix it. So that's a wrong expectation which gets set. And now, since the maintainer are doing it on their free time, and they don't really have the bandwidth, they might not have the bandwidth to pick up tomorrow or maybe pick up in next few months or who knows, like it might not be even in the roadmap. So then sometimes like I would say the best is like if there is an issue open, just comment on that you are interested in maintaining it and how you can maintain it. Actually, what happens generally is if you start contributing and if there is like a good amount of contributions, the maintainer thing will come automatically.
Hmm.
You don't need to really wait for it because that is how the community runs, right? We, as a open source maintainer, we do need contributions from the community and we do want people to take the leads. And if there are people who actually want to take the leads, then people will come forward and reward them. And in my case, it was like if the library is not maintained, it's not active. So I reached out to the maintainer that, hey, can I take care of it? Because I would like to improve it. So that's also one way. Like you can email to them, but they might get back, they might not get back.
Hmm.
Email is something which is kind of, it might work, it might not work. But GitHub issue is something which is there for more visibility. So I think like always have a soft tone like approachable tone in anything, whatever you are doing, and comment, like create an issue or check if there is already an existing issue. Sometimes there are existing issues where people would say that, hey, I'm looking for a maintainer because I'm not able to contribute enough time. Comment on that. Or if you think that, okay, I can, maybe if their email is public, then reach out to them. I think that should be fine. If they might take time to get back, but definitely you will get some response from them in some span of time, if not immediately.
Right, right. So being humble is one of
Yeah,
the thing is very important. I also
very
feel. I mean,
important.
being on the both the side. I mean, being a maintainer of an open source project, dealing with a lot of such requests versus, you know, going for the maintainers and kind of telling them like, hey, I want to probably do something in this particular project. One other thing is, maybe this is something that I also get a question. I'm sure that you have a deep knowledge on this. Is especially for folks who are not in the path that you just now explained, like look for the project which will improve the project itself, thus it improve your life. They look for like probably one contribution they want to make, they somehow figured out like how to get started. They look forward to know like what is there for me once I contribute. I mean, okay, I'll contribute, I get to know this particular code base. Is that all that I can expect when I go for an open source project contribution, or is there anything else that I can expect from my contribution?
Okay, so I think the main um, the main reason of becoming, like contributing to open source, or is that you are basically contributing to the code base which is used by a lot of people, which is
Mm,
out there in the open, and you are also one among those people responsible for it because you just contributed to it. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, since it's in the open, you get the exposure as well. People are able to see that, hey, I mean, it's something like it's like an open your open, I would say, whatever you have, some of the things which you have spent some time building on, that's there in the open, which people can go and check, instead of having it there documented, like let's say in your resume, that you have worked on these things. But if some of that are open source, people can go and check it out.
yeah.
So it also gives you the exposure in the long run. It also gives you the credibility that, hey, and the main thing is that you get to collaborate with the people from the community whom you have actually don't know personally, whom you haven't met with. That actually helps you grow a lot personally as well, because the code review is happening via them. They will be reviewing your code, you will be collaborating with them, and that helps you become a better person, become a better collaborator, because open source is all about collaboration. If you in office, what happens is there is some conflict of thought,
Mm,
get on a call, resolve it, right? In open source, you cannot say that I want to get on a call, because they won't have the bandwidth, right? I'll work, let's say, on night, and you will work in the morning, because that's how we were working. So we cannot get on a call. What happens is in chat, and that also is another experience, that whatever conflict of thoughts are happening, everything is getting resolved in chat.
yeah.
Yes, yes, some libraries might be having some kind of calls, but I'm not aware of if really the projects, like the projects which are purely open source, they do have it, because they cannot have the bandwidth to do it. So it's all happening on the chat, and it's all happening on GitHub on the open. So you really learn a lot on how to deal with those things,
Mm,
how to approach, and how to control your temper also, if you feel that, okay, you are right here, but the maybe your opinion is completely different, and it's not being and the person who is reviewing thinking is not matching. So you need to understand their viewpoint as well, that because it's about code, it's not about you, or it's not about them, it's just about the code, which code is better, or what approach is better, or what approach is more scalable, or which is much more maintainable. So it's all about your code. So there is no biased thing anywhere as such. So in offices, we might have these things, right? Like, hey, that person might not like me, so might not review the code.
yeah.
That could happen if you have some kind, because if you are meeting that person, some kind of that things might happen. It's just I mean, it's just a human nature,
Yeah.
but it's the open source is like just about your code and just about, uh, uh, that's how you are connected with each other, with that code base, with that open source repo, you are actually connected. So you actually learn a lot, and it actually makes you a lot better person. It also helps you getting, and when you have experienced all of these things, then those that also makes you a better person as an engineer, as a as a like as a collaborator as well, because you know how to deal with these situations. Then of course your normal situations are very easy to handle. So I think, yeah, you get and I think the main reason, or I would say the main outcome of what I have experienced so far is, it actually gives you a, since you feel very good when actually you know that, okay, some person is actually using something which you have built.
Hmm.
So that actually makes you a lot happy as well,
Yeah.
that hey, I built this feature and they are using it, so wow, that's cool. And then you get that credibility, you get a lot of exposure. So I think that is something which people do want. But that's how we are connected. You also made React free,
Absolutely.
and the so many people actually learned React because
Hmm.
of that project. So many
Hmm.
people are learning, and so many those people whom you have never met in person, they are actually connected via React Play, right?
True.
So that's the outcome of that project. So many people just collaborated because there is this project where they can learn React. So let's go and collaborate and learn. So I think that is the best outcome of the that's the best outcome of open source.
Yeah. 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 Very nicely put. I mean, this is what you need to see as a long term also. It's just not that one off thing that you are coming for contribution and go off. See things long term. There are lots to take up. And today in the remote working environment, especially like when you are not in a physical office where you resolve thing like sitting in a room, but you got to resolve a lot of things maybe on chat or maybe sometime on a quick call, or get the pulse of the people at the other side whom you have not
Yeah.
seen in person. I think of open source kind of environment really, very instrumental for your,
Yes.
those kind of stuff. Yeah, I get that. So what are the projects you are maintaining right now, Akanksha? I'm just asking because whoever watching us, listening to us might get interested, and I'll post those link into the description of this video so that they get to know about those projects as well.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things where I have been like contributing for last couple of years. One of which I started with is React tags. It's a React component. Yeah, I would love actually involvement in that because I haven't been able to get much time. So
Hmm.
uh, to push out the new features, there are a couple of things which needs to be improved there. And then Fuzzify is one library which I released sometime back. It's basically fuzzy search library. Uh, and Excalibur is one of the bigger projects. Then there is Mermaid to Excalibur. There are like these are basically converting the mermaid diagrams to Excalibur diagrams. Uh, that's also one of the project I have been contributing to. And I think, yeah, I mean, a couple of these projects are there, and there are smaller libraries like this. So if any of these things actually interests you, I would love, you coming forward and making it a lot better. And then, yeah, I would have to collaborate.
Yeah, Excalibur, for example, our library, which is like most of the folks are using right now. I mean, for
Hmm.
demonstrating, explaining things is probably the easiest way to go to browser and kind of start doing it.
Yeah.
So if you are contributing to such libraries, which most of the people are using, even a tiny thing you're improving, you can take, give a pat on the back that, oh, I have done something that many people are using. So that's really a nice feeling that I have identified. Nice. So as we spoke about Excalibur, and this one of the project, one of the thing that I like very much and use it like daily. How did you get into that, and what kind of exposure that you actually got from Excalibur? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So yeah, that's an interesting story actually. So I mean, I was working at HackerRank, and uh, it all started, I think, in 2020. I think that was the COVID time, right?
COVID time, yeah.
Yes. So everything was going virtual, and at HackerRank we were looking for a whiteboard. It's basically an interviews product. So we were looking for a whiteboard to integrate, and we checked couple of those, and came across Excalibur. We finalized it that hey, we want to use it in HackerRank. because of its simplicity. You don't have any login. It's very simple to use. That's, I think, the best, the differentiator of Excalibur from other whiteboards. So that's how we came across Excalibur, and my job was to integrate it into HackerRank. That was the task. So I went into the code base and I checked that, okay, integrating it straightforward is not possible. Like, you can of course use an iframe and just integrate it, but then you will not get control on
Right.
the at the API level. So I actually proposed building an NPM package out of Excalibur. That let's build a NPM package, a React component, because it is in React. So it's like Canvas is there, but the UI is actually in React, or it's a mix of React and Canvas. So we
How
can
was it
make a React.
available before for people to consumption? People consumption. It was not for people
No,
consumption before. Oh, okay.
no, like it was basically built as a standalone website,
Okay.
which you can just go to the website and use it.
Okay. Okay.
And now we wanted to use it in a third party, which is HackerRank. We wanted to
Nice.
integrate it. So now I wanted to, and it's written in React and TypeScript. So I thought, we are also using React. We were using React in HackerRank. We just moved to React, and how about if we can have an NPM package which people can use to integrate Excalibur, and if we have a React component as an NPM package, then we can also interact with the API and control a lot of stuff. So I reached out to the team, and it was like released in January of 2020, and I reached out to the team, I think somewhere in probably in May, I guess May or June, something like that. So not like very, very short period of time. It's like very early stage. So I reached out to the team that, hey, we want to use it in HackerRank, and my proposal is to build an NPM package out of it. So what do you think? And they were kind of not sure, because it actually needed a lot of change in the code base, the way it was written. So and the focus was not into that, because they just released it and they wanted to push out a lot of features. So that was not in the roadmap. So now here comes the patience part. So it took me around, I would think, 6 to 8 months to convince them that
Wow.
I used to write long these. I had written some, what do you say, sort of presentation that why you should be doing it, how it will help, and how the companies can use it, and so those kind of things. So I was basically following up with them every now and then. We really want to do it, but of course we could not wait for 6 to 8 months. So in the meanwhile, I cloned it and made the changes, and we released it in HackerRank. And then after a couple of months after we released, when I was talking with the team, so we came to a conclusion that, okay, we cannot really integrate it right. We cannot really make the change right now, but let's do one thing. Clone the Excalibur repo under the Excalibur org and make the changes whatever you want to, and release it in an NPM package, and we will see how people are using it, and then we will discuss. So I did that in the meanwhile. Fortunately, apart from HackerRank, 2, 3 more companies started using it as well. And
Was it
then
organic? Like they just picked up, they found it useful, and they started using?
so we did share it in the community that
Okay.
there is this NPM package, which which we kind of are trying out. So if they want, we had documented, like
Nice.
documentation was there. So I made like those, whatever changes I was doing in HackerRank, I made those changes here, and we released like a testing version or a beta version. Anyway, and then HackerRank, of course, I migrated it to use this package, and then a lot of more three more companies also started using it. And then I really wanted to move it to NPM package in the into the code base, because it's very hard to maintain it. You will lose 1 week to just resolve those merge conflicts, which I didn't want to, because it was getting updated very fast. So then after that, and after a few months of that, finally the time came where we were ready to merge it with the code base. So my aha moment actually came, and we were and that's when I was actually maintaining this the forked NPM package since since the time it was created. So I was maintaining that. And in the meanwhile, I actually started learning about Canvas, and also I started contributing to the core features as well. And then that's how I actually become a maintainer of Excalibur. That's how my journey started as a maintainer of Excalibur. So, and yeah, after that, I continued doing it. I continued maintaining it and making sure that the NPM package is up to date. And then after 1 year of this, I think they were forming a company, and that's why I joined the company. So that's how my journey started with as a full time into Excalibur as well. Right now, I'm not a part of the company. I left the company this last year in March. So right now, I'm an independent open source maintainer. I still contribute, but as in this is something which I wanted to try for a long time. Even after when I left Hacker, and I did want to try it out just to understand, does it really work? Can you
Mm.
actually sustain open source? Because have heard a lot of stories from people that opinions from people. So I just wanted to this is something which I want to try out. So I thought, okay, before actually doing the next venture, let me try this out, because if I don't try it now, then maybe for next 3 to 4 years I'm not actually going to try out.
Mm.
So maybe let me take this time off and try it out, and then I'll decide if I want to continue it or if I want to try something else. So yeah, that's how my journey started with Excalibur.
Yeah, so you're somebody who got a requirement for them, then dived into it, changed code,
Yeah.
chased them, made it happen, joined the company, and still independently maintaining and contributing. I mean, this is amazing. I think that gives the answer of the previous question that I was actually asking you, like, what is there for me? So definitely,
Hmm.
patience is something that is very key in the field of open source. I guess it's just not a day or just not a week job. It's probably very fancy if we tell like I have come here for a week and there is nothing
Hmm.
after that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I won't suggest contributing with that expectation that you will be getting something out, because that solely depends on what, what is the frequency you are contributing to. Because if you are contributing frequently, you are contributing, then only you get to understand the code base, and then only you can actually, uh, give significant contributions over time. And also, the contribution is not like the code one. If you are not into code, you can also always create an issue, and that is also a contribution. It could be of any kind. It could be a design feedback as well. Like we did get a lot of good design feedbacks in
Hmm.
Excalibur from designers as well, and some of them also helped us to make a better design as well. So it's I mean, design is also something which can be open source. So it's not just limited to developers. It just depends on how you are contributing, as an individual you are contributing. It could be about content. It could be about people do share their experience, how they think Excalibur they have been using it, or
Hmm.
how what are the things they like about it and what are the things they don't like about it. So it depends on how you are actually contributing. It could be a code contribution, it could be a documentation, it could be issue, it could be design, it could be anything, as long as you are spending time with the product or
Yeah.
with that project.
Absolutely. And additionally, is also like you can look for the what kind of niche that you want to build in your tech career and probably something that you're liking and you want to grow more on it. What I've seen,
Yeah.
Akanksha, with you is like I think you have become a Canvas expert now. I have seen like you speaking about Canvas and conferences, and you are dealing with a lot around canvases, right? That's probably for your contribution into this particular project, and from where you understand like how canvas work and you got more deeper
Yes.
inside it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I didn't know anything about Canvas unless and until I started contributing to Excalibur. Because this is something which applies to everyone, right? If your work doesn't involve you diving into something specific, you will never get a chance to do it unless and until you are one of those persons who is building some side product and is continuously building that product and learning. That frequency is probably
Very rare.
1%.
Very
Yeah,
rare.
1%. And but if you are actually doing hands-on with something on an like daily basis, then you get to learn a lot about it. So yeah, and as I mentioned, I love sharing my experiences, like whatever things I have learned or whatever things I have built. what are the issues or how was it solved and those kind of things. I just love sharing about it, and that's where my talks are also about the things which I have worked on. So I try to share those experiences. Canvas is one of the topics which not many people talk about. So
Mm.
yeah, so and I think, yeah, I mean, public speaking is something which I think I started 3 years back.
Mm.
That's where I started with my first talk, and that's an interesting story as well. Like it's like uh, it happened accidentally. So it happened accidentally actually. So the way it happened is there was this React 18, if you remember, when React 18 was released, and there was this working group which was formed.
Yeah,
So I
same
was
with
part
19
of,
also was there.
yeah, no, I think React 19 doesn't have any working group.
Compiler was happening, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yeah, compiler is happening. So React 18 working group, and that was their first working group which they were experimenting with. So I was part of that React 18 working group, and got to learn a lot from the core team because of that GitHub discussions, repo and stuff. So uh, I mean, I like love to deep dive on those things. And when you get to know it from the people who are building it, when you get to know, when you read those threads, I think no one can explain better than that.
Yeah.
Like people who are working on it, right? So I think my first talk was remote. Fortunately, it was the COVID time again, so I was saved. So my talk was recorded. It was in React India, a remote edition, which was, I guess, in 2021, I guess, the remote edition. So again, like Manjula had reached out to me that she was also, I think, part of the React 18 working group, and since I was also part of that group, she reached out to me that if I can talk about React 18, and that was the first React conference happening like after the React 18 release. Um, so yeah, I think that's where that was my first ever conference talk, but it was remote, so I was like happy about it. And then the next talk was also remote. It was again, it was on the React conference, the main React conference. It was about the React 18 working group, so I could record that talk because that all the talks were recorded. So this actually gave a push that okay, maybe I can do public speaking. Like
Mm.
I should talk about things which I am working on, but I did not do it. I stopped it again. I did not really. I had this hesitation always that if I, submit a proposal, will it get selected? Should I submit it? Like those kind of questions, right? Where you kind of, uh, I don't remember, where you kind of validation is what I'm, yeah. So I was not sure whether I should be doing it or if it, so I never just, these two talks happened because I was part of that group. So it just happened. I got invited to these two conferences, but I never tried submitting talks to conferences. So then after a few months, there was this conference happening in Israel, which is React Next, and one of the team members reached out to me that they came across this React 18 or this React 18 talk from React India, and they reached out to me that, hey, will you be interested in speaking this conference? I really had these thoughts that, what should I talk about? So then they shared the CFP form that, you can, submit your topics and then we will get back to you. And then I just submitted a proposal about the internals of Excalibur.
Mm.
And it got selected. I was like surprised that it got selected. And then that was my first talk on stage. Um uh, and that was actually my first ever talk on stage where I had to give it live. It was in Israel, and after that, actually, I got that push that
Yeah.
I should do it. I enjoy. I was enjoying it. So I mean, because this was where I actually spoke about my core work. So
Mm.
React 18 was something where I was part of the group, but it was not something which I have built. So this is where I'm involved in building it. So I really felt good that, okay, talking about the stuff you built, that is really a good thing. Uh, so because you also get to learn a deep dive a lot, and you are able to explain it to the people because you have been involved in building it. And after that, actually, I started submitting CFPs as well. I started being active in the conferences since then. And since then, I have spoken at a couple of conferences. So yeah, that's how my actually public speaking journey started. And then if I go back again, before this React 18 talk in React India, the remote edition one, a couple of years back, I had given a talk at React Meetup, which is by Kiran. You would be aware of
Yeah,
it,
I know.
Bangalore, right? So that was like very long back, and I had stopped it again. So it's like, this starting and stopping, this is like something which all of us do. Very
Hmm.
less people would actually continue it, right? And I was among those people who does not continue it unless and until this Israel conference happened. So after that, I have been that gave me a push that okay, my talk can get selected, so let me try it out in one other conferences. And since then, it has been it's been a great experience. I have spoken at a couple of conferences, and I really love doing it. So that's why I continue doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can also share, my part over here. The similar kind of thing is like there are a lot of self doubt initially, like whether even I'll be able to speak, being on the stage. That kind of doubt. Forget about
True.
my CAP is getting accepted or not.
Yes.
So that nervousness, am I good enough? That kind of complexities, all this thing comes, right? Even if like you're technically sound, things, but still presenting in front of people is something. I think somehow
Yes.
our background and all these things are responsible for this. That's what I believe. But once you do it, the after you cross that first 10, 20, 30 seconds, I think you are the boss
It
there.
goes. It just
Yeah,
goes.
it just goes. And
Yeah.
that feeling, that amazing feeling that you get into yourself and delivering what you want to deliver, that is an amazing feeling. So anyone who wants to really in that state, think that kind of dilemma, thinking like, should I do it versus, should I stay back, I'll say do it, man. There is nothing to lose.
I'll.
uh, yeah, go ahead.
No, if you continue, then I'll add it.
I was saying that, and to be very honest, that our tech audiences are really so generous. I mean, even if you do some mistakes or something happen, they are not going to throw anything at you. It's like you can be really relaxed. You can come back to even if you make mistakes and all. So please go ahead and do it. That's what I wanted to conclude.
Yeah, and I think one more thing, which we even which I have like these things is something which has come to my mind when I started with public speaking. That anxiety that happens every time. Even I have given a couple of talks. It happens every time I have
Yeah.
to go on stage. But with this thing in mind that okay, I want to do better than what I did before. That anxiety actually helps in doing that.
Mm.
That creates a pressure. That pressure, I think, is very much needed for you to actually push yourself. But another thing is that as a as a speaker, even before we actually started speaking on stage, uh, before I started gave even my first talk, I think more than my content, I was worried about the Q&A part always. I know
What
that
question they'll ask?
yes, I was always worried about if I forget something from my content, or if I, let's say, because in actually my first talk, what there was this, there was this accident which happened. Since it was my first live talk, I had my speaker notes,
Mm.
and I'm using M1, and this doesn't have the support for the second monitor, right? You cannot use another monitor with it, the first edition. So and in generally what happens is when one deck in one monitor you see the speaker notes, and in another your screen is
Absolutely.
actually mirrored, right? So you cannot have two monitors here. And now I was like freaked out at stage that why is that it's not working. And I have not I don't know how to it's my first talk. I'll get freaked out if I have to speak without speaker notes. And then I was like, it was just at the stage. I mean, I didn't really have the time to figure things out. Like, it's not like the next day my talk is so I can figure it out. It's like on stage, like in 5 minutes I have to deliver. So and I had demos. So for that I have to shift the screen. So that will create a pause in between. So then we could not do it. So what we did is that whenever I have to shift the screens, the technician will come and they'll help me out to switch the screens. That's what we did. So that day I realized that okay, my laptop is not going to work with speaker notes. So I'm never going to use speaker notes from today onwards. And since then, I stopped using it. So I don't have that. So I stopped having that thing that, if I forget something which I have in the content, because generally, if you have that notes and you forget, then you realize it that you forgot. But if you don't have it, then you don't you cannot forget, because you are not using that notes right now. It's not
Yes.
in front of you. So now what happened is, I always had this thing in mind that if I forget something, I might miss a crucial part. Like, that's a human tendency, right?
Hmm.
Because if you practice something and if you say that, okay, I did not talk about this particular thing, I think this plays an important role if you are building this thing, but I missed it, and then it shows on your face. But we never realize it, that the audience will never know about it, because they don't know your content,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
They will never be able to figure it out unless and until you show up it on the
Yeah.
face.
It's your
That
guilty
is the
feeling.
best. Exactly. So unless and until you are normal, you are fine, everything is fine. So it happened with me, I think, in one of the talks, where I had to say something. It's like you are practicing, so it just gets in your mind, reflexes, right? And then you forget it. So it's like, shit, I forgot this thing. And then it shows up on your face. So that's something which I learned over time, that okay, if something like that happens, you can take a pause and you can say that, okay, I forgot to mention this here, and this is something which I would like to add upon. And the audience, of course, are really, really, like, they are there because they want to listen to your talk.
Yes.
That's why they are there. So if they are, if they are not interested in your talk, they will not be in your talk. That's it. That's the truth. So if there is audience in your talk, it means they are there to listen to your talk. So they are interested in your talk. So this spelled out, like, will people be interested in my topic? Will people be interested to know what I'm going to talk about? And what if someone asks me a question which I don't know, or which I cannot answer at that moment? Will they judge me on that? This kind of things, right? So
How
it's
how do you handle that? I mean, did it happen to you? Like, something was asked, but you are not really prepared on that. How do you dodge that? Any?
so yeah. So I think most of the conferences skip the Q&A part, at least what I have been to. But there was this conference. Uh, where there was a Q&A session. There were like a couple of conferences, but sometimes, yes, it happens that if I'm not able to answer it immediately at that one, because it could be about a feature, or it could be about something where either I'm not just aware of the thing they are talking about. It might happen that
Hmm.
maybe I'm not aware of, or maybe I need to think and answer. Then I just say that, okay, I mean, let me look into that and get back to you, because that is something you can actually do it later. You actually look into that, and then you actually update them on the same thing, that, hey, this is how I think about it. Because of course, like, we as humans, we don't know everything, we cannot know everything. There is like so many things to learn about. But this conference is all about networking. Like, you get to network, you get to ask people a lot of, like, you will also learn a lot about things, even though you have worked on that field for a long time. So I think that is the interesting part. The Q&A is something which might sound scary when it happens on stage. Otherwise, when it's one-on-one, it's all like, I think everyone is fine with that. Everyone is casual. But yeah, I think Q&A Q&A was really good, the way it was handled in SquirrelConf, which was, I think, a couple of months back in US. So there, I mean, that is the best Q&A setup I have seen so far. So they had this Q&A after every talk, and you will sit on the chair, the MC will sit on the chair, and you will have a table, and that's a nice setup. And then MC will filter out the questions asked from the audience. So you don't get any vague questions, because at times it happens that you will get some vague questions
Yeah,
which
yeah.
you really don't want to answer, or you really doesn't need to be answered. Like, I mean, questions should be filtered so that you answer, like, the question is valid for everyone. Like, it's not like very specific to something which is just for that particular person. So that, though, or if the question is like, it could be go beyond the long discussion, those things also better to avoid on stage, because then other people lose the context. So yeah, SquiggleConf, it was really a good and very nice setup, where the MC was actually going through all the questions and they were picking it up. and they were actually asking the questions. And in that also, like, um, I think it happened with me as well, I guess. There was one question which I had to think about an answer later, so I went back and I checked into it, and then so it's always that option is always open. Like, you can always look into something if you are not able to answer it right at that moment on stage. You can always say that I'll look into it and I'll get back to it because I need to check on this and I need
Yeah.
to think about it a bit more. So
It's perfectly fine to kind of
it's perfectly
get to
fine.
that.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. So
Yeah.
one more thing about the public speaking. I think that will be for many folks who are looking forward to speak in different conferences. How do you get to know about these conferences? It's like, how do you get to know, like, there is this particular conference happening in this particular geographic location so that I can put a CFP and all?
So I have been, I mean, if you are on socials, I think people do post on socials. If you are on Twitter, let's say Twitter or X, but I think not everyone you will find there. But there is this platform which I generally check on is CFP.watch,
Okay.
which is a nice website where you actually get all the latest conferences happening. If you want, if that is something which, some interesting conference you come across, you can actually check those out. And there, I think there are a couple of 2 or 3 sites, I think, developer conf or something. But
Hmm.
CFP.watch is, I think, the most updated one, which has the list of all the upcoming conferences. Like, if you even go now and check it, you will find a lot of conferences which are happening in next couple of months. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I'll post a link of that in the description of this video as well. Great. Wow, I think uh, lots to know about the open source talk, your journey, and all the stuff. So, what are you on right now? What's the plan? What are you doing right now?
Okay, so I think yeah, this the last year has been I would say a community year for me because I am on that experimentation mode. So trying out as an independent developer and uh, trying out if it works, if it doesn't work. And I also started doing some freelancing as well, which in I think last 2 3 months as well. So now what I'm currently like the most recent thing is I announced my first remote workshop, uh,
Fantastic.
and which is happening in January, 25th of January. It's again a deep dive workshop on Canvas, where we will be building a whiteboard from scratch. And we'll be diving into a lot of those concepts, which helps you to understand what happens internally in the canvas. And we'll be using React as well. So yeah, if that is something which interests anyone, you can just go to my website akansha.dev and you will find that workshop there. And yeah, I think just go and let me know what you think. And yeah, that's the most I would
There's a
say the
remote
recent.
workshop, is it?
It's a remote workshop. Yeah.
And it's for how many days? It's like a day
No,
and 2 hours.
it's a half day workshop. So basically, since it's a remote workshop, so the main challenge I'm facing right now is to make it work across the multiple time zones where people like the people who have registered from different time zones. So I want to make it accessible for them, and for that I'm actually splitting it into 2 days. So instead of doing it on a one day and a single work, since it's a deep dive, so like 4 to 5 hour workshop can be exhausting. So
Hmm.
I'm splitting it into 2 days, and like it would be a 2.5 hour session on the 2 days.
Great.
So yeah,
Yeah, all the best to that. I
thank
just wish
you.
that it goes very well. And please let us know, like you mentioned about the website. Give me that. I'll put it in the description in case somebody
Sure.
interested. You also mentioned about the freelancing thing that you are associated with. So that's another probably interesting topic because I keep getting a lot of questions about side hustles, freelancing, and being ready for it. Um, so I just want to know, like, your insight is like how easy or how difficult to deal with freelancing world is basically getting the work done on time, getting the getting paid for the work that you are doing, finding the right contract for the freelancing. Do you want to share anything around that?
I think so. I never thought as to start freelancing actually because I was basically I wanted to try out this open source thing, But again, open source is not sustainable. Like it's very hard to sustain it.
Mm.
So relying on sponsorships and
As a maintainer,
uh,
you mean?
yeah, relying on the sponsorships. I tried it for a couple of months, but it didn't really work out for me. So then, of course, I had to find something,
Mm.
so that the finances also keep coming. So that's where I actually thought of doing freelancing. So one advantage, or I would say, one good outcome of being part of the community has been that I fortunately got that exposure in the community by contributing or by public speaking and having participating in a community. So people started, some of the folks were reaching out earlier if they need, like it could be related to some open source project which they are using, which I have been maintaining, and they want some help into that. So those kind of things I was getting. So I thought, okay, maybe now I should start saying yes to them and help them out. And that's how I started it. And since it was like related to open source projects, I also started redirecting them on, let's say, if this, like, I started adding sponsorship tires as well on my GitHub profile, that if that is something
Mm.
which works for them. So, but sometimes that works, sometimes that didn't work. And then again, the thing which I was really, have been like struggling with for the last couple of months is the discipline, or like when you are on your own, you
Mhm.
can mess up your life
I know.
actually,
I know.
because yes, I mean, you would know better than me because you have been in that longer time than me. So uh so I mean, yeah, I mean, I was really getting, because it's like when you don't have those deadlines, it's like, okay, I'll push this later. I mean, okay, I know, let's that's all for now. So those kind of things, those kind of distractions starts happening. So you need to get on track. So then, I mean, on the meanwhile, there was a little bit freelancing which I started doing, and then I actually recently actually started working on some projects. So that's how that also helped me to like um, the sustainability, because now since I can take care of the finance, so I can go back and contribute to open source as well,
Yeah.
which is like something which I'm passionate about. So yeah, and freelancing, I think probably I'm not the right person to answer it, because I'm not like a core freelancer.
Mhm.
What I have been doing till now is like whatever request I have gotten, I just uh, um see if I can spend time on that. But I think people who actually do core freelancing, I think I would say you can actually share your experience here. Uh, you have actually built a company, right?
Yes.
So
Curious.
Creavis, yeah. So I think you can actually share your experience here because you are the right person to share it. And how you actually do it, and how you maintain the discipline out there, and how the struggling which you would have gone through before you worked at a company and then you left it, and then you actually built a company of your own, and you have these I know, like, Kiran also does. I think Kiran is also into freelancing. I
Yes.
mean, has been doing this for a
Long time. Yes.
long time. Yeah, I think probably that since he has been doing this meetups, he has been in this freelancing world. So yeah, I mean, it's like you get the projects, you work on the projects, you deliver it, and then those projects will help you to get more
Get more.
projects.
Yes.
That's how it works. So yeah, I'm not the right person to answer this, so I'll skip this question
No, that's fine. I think
because yeah,
you answered the crux of it. I think it's a recurring thing. Once you start doing, you get more by the work that you have done before. And another thing I think which is already happening for you is the power of networking. See, you might
yeah,
feel that the kind of platforms that are available for freelancing today, sometime it gets saturated based on lot of environmental factors, lot of political factors. It gets saturated, might not get that lucrative for you. But what makes it work is the references and the networking. Find a one person that you have worked with, that person can come back and say that, hey, can you do this for me? I'll be paying
mm,
for this. This is what exactly matters. So please build good connections, good network. If you're on socials, that is going to pay a lot of stuff in the long run.
true, true.
Cool. This is incredible, Akanksha. It's like you have shared a lot. I'm sure, like whoever going through this, taking their time. will be able to know like about starting on the career, the open source stuff, the motivation they need, the speaker stuff, and starting something like doing a now workshop that also needs a lot of guts actually. So workshop is something that I have been thinking for a long time that I'll be doing a workshop on Next.js, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of postponing it for different reasons. But yeah, I'm definitely going to reach out to you for some of the logistical information about the workshop that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing. Yeah, once you get done, you'll have your experience that I can gain on. Yeah. So that's the power of
yeah,
the community, guys, as well, that networking, you get to know a lot of details, a lot of things that you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Somebody is doing it, gain the experience from that person and make it work
yeah.
for
I
you.
think I have a lot of uh, pros and the what do you say because this is my first remote workshop. I did take a workshop uh I guess 2 years back, um, which was an in-person workshop. It was at React Elegant. It was about building a whiteboard from scratch. So that was an in-person workshop. But yeah, I always wanted to do a workshop because you get to actually deep dive
Yeah.
to a lot deeper level, and you actually get to build some stuff as well. So that's why I this is something which was in my mind for a long time. It's just that I was not able to find the right time to when should I be doing it. So yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping everything works out well, and then depending on that, I can decide what to do next.
Yeah, I'm sure it will work out well. All the best to you for that. Yeah, looking
Thank
forward to the
you.
news that how exactly it goes. And thank you very much. So before we end, I just want to ask my last question is like, so if you're getting into software development in 2025, what are the things that you would look for to get into the software development market, and is like getting your foot strong on it? And from the other side, like if you are hiring someone in 2025 and you want that person to work with you, what are the qualities that you'll be looking for? So if you can give answer from both the sides, and with that we'll end this.
I think we are actually going into world of AI right now. So I would say, I mean, AI is not going to replace you. That's that's for sure. I believe in that. The reason being that we as engineers need to use AI to make ourselves better.
Hmm.
So we are if you don't use AI to, let's say, make yourself faster or make yourself better, then probably you might be left out because
Hmm.
AI is there to make you better and make you much better when it comes to productivity, or even when I mean, for me AI is like my brainstorming partner, I would say, because working remotely I would brainstorm with ChatGPT
Yeah.
for uh, whatever stuff if I need to brainstorm on some approach or things like that, because it actually helps. And the way it will not give you the best solution, but it will give you a solution where you can actually improvise it. You can actually think about the corner cases, and then you can actually come up with a better approach much faster.
Hmm.
And there are so many tools now which actually it can actually code as well now. Though it will not be the code which you can push to production, but at least you can use it as a starting template.
Correct.
Let's say if you are building a to-do app, if you ask them to build a to-do app, they will build it, and then you can improvise the design instead of building it from scratch. So I think we as engineers should use AI, need to use AI, and should use AI to make ourselves better, and so that you can basically become more productive. So there's this thing, or there is this myth going on that AI can replace you. That I don't. That should never. That will never happen, because we are the one who are actually making AI more powerful with our it's all about data, right? So I think that is something which we should keep in mind, that how
Hmm.
we can make ourselves better and a much better engineer with the help of AI. And that is something we should be using the tools for that. If we don't use it, then that's something which needs to be worried of. So if even if you looking into 2025, starting your career, but basics is something which will always be there. I mean, AI is not going to build your website, deploy it, and scale it as well, and run it and maintain it. Maintenance is something which always comes to the developer. Bug fixing is something which comes to the developer.
True.
Improvising and the product requirements, satisfying the product requirements is something which jumps to the developer. So there is no way that AI will be replacing you. But yeah, obviously, with time, there will be a lot of tools coming in which will help us do our jobs faster. So that is like, I think I came across a AI tool which can help you create logos uh, for your company. So I mean, though that way, if I'm not into design, I don't have to hire a designer to just get started with it. I can use some tool to do, and then improvise it. So that way, I think it's getting a lot better.
Hmm.
But yeah, designers are who actually are helping build that tool, right? Like the data is coming from there. So it's always the input, it's always us who are going to make the tool better. So yeah, I think I would say that uh, keep your basics strong. Make sure you understand data structures for sure. And whatever field you are working in, depending on that, make sure that you know the basics, be it front end, data, whatever it is, and understand it from the core. That is always going to be there because that is going to help you be a better engineer over time. And if it comes from the hiring perspective, also, I think I'll be looking for these skills. Uh, and Yeah, I think that's something which I would conclude with.
Super.
Anything you would like to add
No, I
here?
think I think you're just on it. I am. You told about AI at the same time. You put that right. You know that you need to embrace it, then stay away from it. Like
Yeah,
you have to be in it, and you have to learn about using it, and then you have to think about the use cases maybe around it, and that's how you grow. And while doing that, all the basics probably which were true 5 years, 6 years back are still relevant. You still need to
yeah,
know Python, you still need to know probably JavaScript, you still need to know your programming fundamentals. You cannot networking, you cannot run away from those, right? So those are also important. So very rightly put. And in fact, when we also go for hiring, by we mean from CreoWiz, um, we look into some of these things like the fundamentals, the person how much know about the fundamentals, how much curious to be in the next gen tech stack. For example, being with AI tech stack might not have done anything, but at least have that knowledge and the passion that okay, I can do something. So that is enough. That is what people are looking today. The how curious you are to explore things, that how much big head you have and how much you have put inside that how much you really already know and build something. So that's it. I think it was great interacting with you, and thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that you enjoyed talking to me as well,
yes,
and
definitely.
yeah, and I wish you all the best with your not only with your upcoming workshop, but everything and anything that you plan this year. Let it go and let it become very very big.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's amazing to see that you started with React Play. You started with your own company. You are doing it, and you are doing this podcast. So you are. It's not like after building your company, you forgot the community. You are continuing with it. That's so great to see. And that reminds me that I should be resuming the meetups
Yeah,
soon.
do that. I want to
So
speak.
yeah. Yeah, I would definitely you will be the. I think probably we would love to have you as the first guest on the.
Super.
I mean, I was supposed to actually do it last year, but due to like the conferences, I was not able to get the bandwidth. But yeah, I think I'll try to resume the meetups this year sooner.
Awesome. All the best to that. Okay, stay well. We'll connect again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So, how was the episode? I'm looking forward to get your feedback. If you like it, please post a like, please give a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. By the way, if you would like to know more about Akanksha, her socials are present in the description of this video, and she has also written a blog about the entire journey of her open source. I have shared that link in the description as well. Along with that, she has also mentioned about various links and opportunities in this podcast. Those links are also there in the description of this video. Go ahead and check out. I'll be coming back soon with the next episode and another fabulous guest. I'm sure you're going to enjoy that as well. Stay well, stay healthy, keep learning, be with tapaScript.